Caitlin Clark thing is over. She's not the best player in the WNBA. She's Jeremy Lynn. This is just Linsanity. She's going to fumble this, and it's because of two things. Who would have thought? She decided to roll up with Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen says the N-word liberally, says it more than I do, and I'm black, and her bitching and moaning to the refs nonstop. But when we look back on this, we'll go, this girl had the world by the balls. She had everybody loving her. And when we look at Jeremy Lynn and look at her, we're going to find out that at the end of the day, it was the exact same thing.
What? Excuse me? Let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Now, I have no idea who in the hell that dude is. My guess is he is the president of Club Dunce. But I just want to be sure I'm understanding him correctly. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA equivalent of Jeremy Lynn? Uncle KC, who in the hell is Jeremy Lynn? Yeah, that is exactly my point. I would imagine that most of my younger viewers, they've probably never heard of Jeremy Lynn, and there is a good reason for that. In the year of our Lord 2012, Jeremy Lynn was one of the biggest stars in the NBA for about 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And look, this is no disrespect to Jeremy Lynn. He was no scrub, had a pretty good career in the NBA. He was a very small part of the Toronto Raptors championship run back in 2019. But Jeremy Lynn is nowhere close to being on the same level as Caitlin Clark. This would be like comparing the career of The Rock to Bastion Booger. Since the president of Club Dunce clearly has no idea who the Great White Hope is, allow me to introduce him to Caitlin Clark. Jeremy Lynn had a 3-week run in New York City, the mecca of basketball, the biggest market in the country. If he had that same run in Charlotte, no one is talking about Jeremy Lynn. 2 years ago, Caitlin Clark walked into a literal dump. The WNBA was a wasteland. This was the place where basketball careers went to die. WNBA players, they were on the missing persons report. Families would be worried. They would see their daughters on television throughout their collegiate careers. They get drafted. They supposedly make it to the professional level. And these poor families, they never saw their daughters on television again. WNBA players were making minimum wage. They were traveling to road games on buses that had 3 wheels. They were sharing practice facilities with the prepubescent boys at the local YMCA. A blind man had a better chance of finding Waldo than you had of finding a pretend basketball game on television. For decades, David Stern, who was responsible for elevating the NBA, for decades, David Stern did everything he could to find a way to monetize this turd. And one of the best businessmen in the country couldn't do it. In the span of 1 season, Caitlin Clark elevated this league into the mainstream. And she wasn't playing in New York City. She wasn't playing in Los Angeles, Chicago. She wasn't playing in a major market. Caitlin Clark elevated the WNBA into the mainstream while playing in Indianapolis. Last year, she was injured throughout most of the season. The Indiana Felines were still the biggest draw in the WNBA. And here we are in year 3, and WNBA players, they have graduated from minimum wage to $1 million contracts. And you expect me to believe Caitlin Clark is the equivalent of Jeremy Lynn? I cannot think of another comparison to make when it comes to Caitlin Clark and her elevation of the WNBA. The only thing I can think of that comes even remotely close is what Hulk Hogan and the NWO did for WCW back in the mid-90s. They took a company that was losing millions of dollars every year and had WCW generating $200 million a year in revenue. Even though his comparison to Jeremy Lynn, and I'm not even going to address the Morgan Wallen stupidity that he said, even though his comparison to Jeremy Lynn was a massive swing and a miss, that does not mean he doesn't have a point. Caitlin Clark is not the draw that she was 2 years ago, and that's not my opinion. The proof is in the numbers. Even with ticket prices being somewhat close to the price of a gallon of gas, the Indiana Felines still failed to sell out their game last night against the Washington Mythicals. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Last night, 15,000 people watched the Felines lose a heartbreaker in overtime to the Washington Mythicals. Now, quick. Name one player, just one player, who plays for the Washington Mythicals. Listen to this roster of stars. You tell me if this would be enough for you to leave your house on a Friday night. Georgia Amore?
Who?
Alex Wilson?
Who?
Sonia Citron?
And who?
With star power like that, it is absolutely perplexing why the Fever couldn't sell tickets last night. Take a look at this. These were the available seats about 90 minutes before the game started. As you can see, thousands of seats were still available. Once the game started, nearly 2,000 seats remained unsold. What's even more concerning, the Fever were running a promotion last night where you paid $28 for tickets, and along with the tickets came a complimentary wiener from the concession stand. Now, in fairness to the Fever, this is a common tactic when tickets are not selling. NBA teams often do the same thing for lower profile games during the regular season. But once they realized that free wiener was not enough to draw a crowd, ticket prices dropped to $11 and they still couldn't sell out. To make matters worse, lonely men on social media who are obsessed with Angel Reese, they are once again pushing her as the biggest star in the league. Did you hear the good news? This weekend, the Atlanta Dreamers are playing the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces. The demand for tickets was so high, they had to move the game to an NBA arena, and Angel Reese already sold every ticket. Wowzer! A star is born! Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes! The media will use this to claim that Angel Reese and AJ Wilson are rising draws in the WNBA. And look, there is clearly interest in Atlanta to see them play this weekend. But let's just be real here. Even though the spotlight has faded just a little bit, Caitlin Clark is still the driving force in this league. And I'll show you why. Last night, Caitlin Clark was struggling. If you look at her stat line, you'll see that she led the game in scoring, but it took Caitlin Clark 28 shots to score 32 points. If you know anything about basketball, then you know that dog won't hunt. That is not a recipe for success, which is why the Indiana Felines are sitting at 1-2 right now and lost the game in overtime last night. Caitlin Clark struggled most of the game, but she came alive and took over in the fourth quarter. With seconds to go, Fever are down by 3. They are inbounding the ball, and everyone in the arena knows exactly where the ball is going. Now, I'm going to show you this clip. Then I'm going to show you some recent highlights of Angel Reese, who the media will continue to claim is a major draw. You tell me which is more exciting. You tell me which player is more compelling. Watch it for yourself.
Working from the perimeter, the spin. They want that three-point shot. A 2-on-1 for Reese, who gallops to the rim. There is Howard slicing. She also misfires. And an offensive rebound by Reese, who's a wrecking ball.
Yeah, it ain't even close. I don't know what it is about Caitlin Clark, but she's exciting to watch. Now, don't get me wrong. It can be fun to watch Angel Reese when you're having a bad day and you need some mindless entertainment. Angel Reese can lift your spirits by bouncing the ball off her toe and giving herself a bloody nose. If you're feeling overheated on a long summer day, Angel Reese can provide you a cool breeze with her helicopter layups. Angel Reese is more of a comedic player. Caitlin Clark is a game changer. The question is, why are the felines struggling to sell tickets at home? And look, I don't want to over dramatize it. There were still 15,000 people in the arena last night. Less than 2,000 tickets were unsold. But there is definitely something different this season with the Caitlin Clark fan base. There's a lot of animosity. I see a lot of fans complaining about the Fever as an organization. Some people, they are blaming gas prices. Some are blaming the economy. Me personally, I don't think that's the reason the Fever aren't selling out home games. I know gas prices are high. I know groceries are high. Hell, groceries have been high for 4 or 5 years now. Now, I'm no economist, or as our good friend Georgie Bush would call it, I'm no economer, and I am completely out of touch with the job market. Haven't been in the job market in 5 years. The only way I measure the economy is how it's affecting me. And advertisers on YouTube are spending major money right now. I am seeing ad rates in the middle of May that we usually see during the holiday season in November and December. When the economy is in the pooper, or when the economy is unstable, normally first thing businesses cut is advertising spending. So I don't think you can blame the economy. Plus, tickets were selling last night for $11. $11 ain't the reason the Fever failed to sell out the game. Maybe this is more of a natural decline. The momentum Caitlin Clark had 2 years ago, that is impossible to maintain forever. The problem for the WNBA, they really only have 2 interesting players. Uncle KC, that's not true. That is blasphemous. What about A'ja Wilson? What about Paige Beckers? These women are huge stars. I mean, they're both great players. Hell, A'ja Wilson is the best player in the league. But how often do you see her highlights? How often do you hear about the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces? I don't even know their record. I don't keep up with the Indiana Fever or the Atlanta Dreamers, but I always know when they're playing. Why? Because people are always talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Those are the only 2 players driving mainstream interest in this league. And the good thing about it from the WNBA's perspective, they both drive interest for different reasons. Caitlin Clark is the proverbial hero, and Angel Reese is absolutely perfect as the ultimate villain. Anyway, sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.